Hello, this is the Green Corn Rebellion Show. I'm Gregory Harden II. I'm here with my friend and current Ward 8 City Council member for the city of Norman, Oklahoma, Alex Scott. She's also running for State Senate in Senate District 15, which is pretty much Norman, correct?
Norman and Moore in small south part of Oklahoma City. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right. So, what was it? About a month ago, whenever Bernie came, you spoke. You were one of the speakers that spoke before him. So how was that? That was pretty cool, wasn't it? I was there.
It was intense.
Yeah.
So intense. It was really like I was nervous leading up to it because the organizer asked me a week in advance to speak before Bernie, and I was kind of blown away, and I was like, I'm gonna speak in the presence of Bernie MF Sanders. So and then 4,000 plus people, which was crazy. That's the most I've never spoken in front of that many people before, but it was good, and I felt pretty good there on stage, and also like seeing all the people who my message that I felt they resonated with. It was really a good experience for me, and I think them as well.
Yeah. All right. All right. So first question, or should I say second question I have here is, where did you grow up and how did you end up in Norman?
Yeah, so I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but I moved around a lot as a kid. So I lived in Florida for a bit of my childhood, and then Dewey, Oklahoma. I don't know if you know where Dewey is, but it's tiny rural town, like tiny town. My graduating class would have been 60 people, just north of Bartlesville, Oklahoma, so about an hour north of Tulsa, up there in, I think, the Osage Nation. So I grew up there for a while, and then I moved to Dallas. Not in actually a suburb of Dallas. I moved to Grand Prairie, which was a total culture shock. My graduating class ended up being 600 people, and I had went to 3 different elementaries and 3 different high schools. But I was always Sooner born and bred, thanks to my family. My dad is an OU alum, and so am I now. And so when I was in my, I think, senior year of senior year of high school, my dad brought me up here to the campus, and I fell in love with the landscape pretty much. And so I came here for school, and I never left.
All right. And we're glad that you never left. Let's see here. Third question is, what influenced you to go into politics?
Oh, so it's kind of there's like a long story and a short story. So I don't know how much information you want.
Go ahead. Everything.
Cool. So I have been on this journey of vegetarianism for about 10 years, possibly longer. When I was in like 3rd grade, I stopped eating Jell-O and shrimp because of like what I found out about Jell-O and stuff. And then when I was 14 in 2009, I cut out. It's my husband. In 2009, I cut out meat altogether because I saw a PETA video. And I was living in Dewey, Oklahoma at this time, and so they were like, who are you, and who do you think you are as a vegetarian, and so it was embarrassing. They had no idea, like, why I was doing this, and I was like, I can't explain to you, but it's not right. It's inhumane. And I, like, now that I'm an adult, I associate, like, with the mass, like, production and exploitation of animals by us for our own sustainment and our own, like, lifestyle, the same as like elites exploiting us and our labor for their lifestyle, and so like those things just kind of make sense to me. And so when I was 16, I started protesting outside of when I moved down to Dallas, I started protesting outside of cosmetic companies that were performing animal testing. And so started like cutting out also fast food and things like that, which was really difficult because it's like cheap and it's available and it's convenient. But I was like, sugar is bad for you. And so is, all of this processed food and stuff. I just felt like the corporations were like using food to poison people and make them sick. And I sound like a crazy person, but it's like it is what it
No,
is.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started, really, that was where I started. It was like food and then environmentalism. I did some water testing in my environmental science class and learned how like contaminated and disgusting the water like right next to my house was. I was like, we need to have water protections. But really, like, what sealed the deal for me, I was an SGA for a little bit in college, but like literally a semester or two. But what sealed the deal was when I was a teacher, when I went from being tech support to teaching full time in 2016, I was working a part-time job also on top of that to supplement my income, since, you know, we have a ton of debt, as well as, you know, when I left my tech job that I now work in, I took a $10,000 pay cut. So I was having to work 2 jobs just to make what I did. And so I signed up for the union, or the, it's not a union. I signed up for the association, the Oklahoma Education Association, when I first became a teacher, because I heard they provided protections and training and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I'm a new teacher. I really need all of that. Like, the more I can get, the better. Then Trump was elected. And then right before, the same day that Trump was elected, though, my very first time I knocked doors was for State Question 779, which was the penny sales tax for teacher salary raises and higher ed and all of that. So that failed, and I became involved. Like, I got really angry. I was like, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm knocking doors. I'm asking my neighbors for a raise out of their own pockets rather than y'all taking care of this at the Capitol, where you have the time and the resources, and y'all need to be putting your heads together so that I can do my job more effectively. And so I basically had said this to the legislator over the Moore area, Mark McBride, who my good friend Leslie ran against last year. Bless her heart. He told me at that time, and this was in January, I think, of 2017, he was like, you shouldn't be criticizing your legislators. You should be working with us and thanking us. And I was like, for what? You know, I'm not criticizing you. I'm asking you to do your job. Yeah. So that moment right there too was like, okay, that guy's got to go. Who else got to go? And so I started, I was still mostly just involved with the OEA. I had gone down to the National Education Association's Leadership Summit. My president at the local union brought me down there with her, like, free paid trip. And they taught me about advocacy and activism and how to, you know, be effective in like organizing. And so I became more of an organizer and agitating other teachers. And then I got involved with Our Revolution people, pretty much. So like the Bernie-crats, the Bernie caucus. So Darcy, my friend Darcy, and Bill Dower, who now lives in California, they hosted a forum about how to become a precinct officer and like how to get involved in March of 2017. And I was like, what is a precinct officer? What does that mean? And so I went to that, and I heard her, and we had been friends on Facebook. So I was like, holy smokes, that's Darcy Woodson. And so we became really good friends after that, actually. She loves that story too, because she's like, I remember when you were just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Now I'm like this huge cynic. And so then I ran, I went to the Cleveland County Democratic Party convention after I became a precinct officer. So I was like, oh, I'll step up. Yeah, let's see what this means and what it does. So I went to the convention, and I was able to vote. And then I was like asked to be on the resolutions committee for the education portion of resolutions for CD4, the convention. So, and then also like do all of the typing and stuff, because technology is hard for some folks. And so I started doing that. And then Bill Dower, the same guy, I had been like going to all these meetings and trying to figure out kind of like what the next step was and what was going on and just trying to stay involved. Bill was like, hey, have you thought about running for a party officer position? I was like, no, not at all. So then I did. I stepped up and I ran for a party office, and people voted for me, and I was like, cool, what's next? And then so I was knocking doors in the summertime. I didn't go back to teaching after this. I started knocking doors for candidates and causes as well. So I ended up knocking doors also for 788 and rallying for 788, which is the state question for medicinal cannabis, which passed last year. but I knocked doors for like my House rep, Jacob Rosecrans, Stephen Vincent, who ultimately didn't win, Michael Brooks Jimenez, all these people in the 2017 cycle. So when it came time for city council elections, and I was, I'm all involved now. And so I started following, I'm trying to figure out what elections are coming up. And Cleveland County was like, we still need somebody to run for Ward 8. And I was like, that's mine. And I didn't want to run at first. I did not want to run. I had asked my husband. I remember we were sitting upstairs and I was like working on something after hours. And he was sitting on the couch, I think. And I was like, will you please run? And he said no. he had to take he had to take his professional engineering exam, and so he's like, I have too much to study for. Were you still in the last year? Were you still in the last semester of grad school? Yeah. Still in the last semester of grad school. I was in my first semester of grad school, about to go on my second semester. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna ask my neighbors, I'm gonna ask John Stevenson, I'm gonna ask Angie, out, like all these people, and I kept asking, and nobody was trying to go for it. And so I said, okay, if no one steps up to run, I will do it. And the very last day, with like 2 hours left, I went to the bank, went to the polling, like where I had to go, the Cleveland County Election Board, filed the paperwork and signed up. And by the end of the day, Darcy's sending me gifts online, like memes about how excited she is that I'm running. I didn't tell anybody. And then I had Lintha, some like local politicos here who are like longtime Normanites, like calling me like, oh, is it for real? You're really running? I was like, how do you guys find this stuff out? So, like, I haven't told anyone. And so that's how that happened. And then I didn't know what I was doing. I had only just knocked doors before, so I knew what literature should look like. And then I knew that people might want a website. And so I have a tech background, so it was super easy for me to go and just set up a website. So I set up the website, I did my own literature, which was terrible. I'm not a graphic designer. I wish I had someone on it right now, but yeah, it was bad. And so then we ran and won. Against all the odds. People did not think we were going to win. I was thinking the whole time, I was like, I would never run for an office I didn't think I could win. Mm-hmm. Why waste my time, my resources, and everybody else's at that? So we knocked hundreds of doors, maybe thousands. And I walked so many miles. And that's the story up to now of how I got involved in politics.
All right.
That's the long story.
Let's see here. Okay. So you've been on city council for a little over a year now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some major accomplishments that you and the other city council members have done within that year or so? There's
honestly a lot. That's a hard question because there's so many different things. So like when I first came on council, there was this big deal about this arena deal. That was a big deal to people. And I don't want an arena on my side of town where the roads we don't have the infrastructure. And so that was one. We defeated that because they withdrew their thing. We're working in the TIF right now. My commitment to my constituents was hosting bi-monthly ward meetings. I've done that. I've increased engagement, and that was my big thing. Like I wanted to make sure, like as an organizer, like I'm bringing politics back to the people rather than making the people come to the politics, like to us, because people are nervous about that. It's hard to go and like speak in front of people. So I want to make sure that they have that opportunity where they feel more comfortable if I'm hosting them. So that's a commitment that I made that I have kept, and it's been great. Some of the really big strides that we've made is securing a location for the senior center. Which was a long time issue. And then also part of what we're working on is these locations for the indoor aquatic facility as well as the indoor, multi-sport facility. Yes. And so I'm trying to get this road project down here, Bill. I'm this close, because we just have to wait on the federal funding. And so we passed the most comprehensive human rights ordinance updates that have been seen in the entire of Oklahoma. We are the most comprehensive. We received the Ally of the Year from the Freedom Oklahoma Gala this year because of those updates. And that means you cannot discriminate against anybody for any reason, for anything, basically. So like if they're coming to work in your home, if you own a business, like you cannot discriminate against anybody, people of color, of any religious denomination, gender, any of that. So that was pretty awesome. That was a contentious evening as well, but that was an amazing night. That was a really good one. We have, what are some other things that we have done? What are other things that we've done? Our new library just opened.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Works for a while. So our new central library location just opened. We have an election coming up on Tuesday for public transit. We need to maintain our basic services, and anybody who sees this before Tuesday, I would encourage to vote yes, please, on our proposition to reclaim our 8-cent sales tax. So those are a few things. I'm trying to think of what else we've done since I've been on the council, because there's been a lot. And we shook some things up, made some noise. Probably saw that back earlier this year. This is the problem also sometimes with electing like activists like me and agitators to elected office. Sometimes we agitate. It is what we do. So, but that's the whole point, is to increase engagement. And let's see. I know there's another big one I feel like I'm missing. We're trying to end the TIF. We secured those locations. We got the human rights ordinances. Oh, my friend and I we had a resolution back in January encouraging the state to ban conversion therapy on minors. So we are working on in our city. There are a couple of other items that he and I are working on. He serves on the Human Rights Commission, and he works for the ACLU and as well as the university. His name is Sage. He's amazing. And so we are working on a few things. We're trying to make Norman, a safer, more inclusive city. That's truly our goal. So, yeah.
All right. So what has made you want to run for state senate?
Also so much. So the current senator couldn't be further on the opposite side of the spectrum from me, which is, fine. However, he doesn't listen to his constituents. He doesn't engage his constituents. He's only worried about his seat whip. He doesn't hear, I'm a real big environmentalist. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. So he wouldn't hear any renewable energy bills.
Oh, wow.
Any, and he's on the energy committee. So that's really frustrating. He didn't listen to teachers during the walkout. He literally tried to run and hide from them. So these are just a couple of things. But what made me really want to run, because I don't see myself as running against him. I see myself as running for SD 15. I believe that I am in touch with the people here. I'm on the ground with them. I listen to them, even when I don't want to. And, I'm here for them. I truly believe that I have the skills, the skin, tough skin, not only am I white, which will help in the rural area, I think, because some of these people are definitely racist, but, and it's an 87% white district, but I have what it takes to run for office and win, and the work ethic, you know what I mean? So, and I also feel like I have the moral compass to stay the right course, because what I have to do regularly is check myself and say am I operating in the most ethical way? You know what I mean? Am I still on the right track? Am I falling into a trap? Am I playing into what they being the elites or people who don't have our best interests in mind? Am I playing into their plan? And luckily for me, I have a master's of public administration, and so I can try to set myself aside and see how I'm operating outside of myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I try to see that, and so environmentalism is a really big one why I want to run. Local autonomy is also extremely important, as far as one of the big things is we would like to ban fracking. If we want to ban fracking in our city, we should be able to do that. If we want to raise the minimum wage, we should be able to do that. If we want to ban plastic bags, if we want to ban plastic, we should be able to do that. So those are really big, but they come through and they preempt us. And so really, and we want to protect our water. And so my run for state senate is going to be centered around largely environmentalism. Obviously access to healthcare is so critical. And I think you said you may ask some questions about what's going to be on the ballot next year. And we already know that Medicaid is coming up, Medicaid expansion. And that's huge. The guy that I'm running against is a pharmacist. And where I said earlier, I rallied for 788. I put my name on the line. I put my heart on the line for cannabis and, autonomy for people to choose the method of healing that most suits them. He, meanwhile, combated it. And now he profits off of it. He has another company that he uses to operate cannabis, like a cannabis company, which I think is messed up. Also, when you think about it, Oklahoma having the highest incarceration rate, especially of women and Black and brown people who have been incarcerated at higher rates. I was doing some research. I did a policy analysis for my master's on cannabis at the federal level. And we in America incarcerate Black and brown people at 4 times the rate of white people, even though white people smoke at higher rates. It's wild. And so I know no news to you guys, but that's a big one. We have harsh conditions. We shouldn't be incarcerating people. We should be rehabilitating people. And cannabis is really not something we should be rehabilitating anybody for. It should be just medicinal. It is it's medicine. It's a plant. You know what I mean? Can you imagine going to jail for oregano salad? Honestly. And so those are a few reasons. Education, obviously, I was a teacher. So as a counselor, I feel I have the experience. I've balanced a budget. We have to balance budgets. The state legislature is not. They are not coming up with funding mechanisms to prioritize public services, and that's what I would do. Public services that people rely on are absolutely critical. In Oklahoma, we have a higher poverty rate than most of the other states in the nation, and we are not providing the services that the people are disproportionately paying for out of their pockets. And so because of our super high sales tax rate, we're the 9th most regressive state in the nation for taxation as well. These are all things. This is why I'm running for Senate, is because I have all these ideas. I'm coming at them and I'm coming hard. Tax equity is huge to me, and trying to change that. And I understand with the Republican legislature, it's going to be challenging. But I feel I'm charming. And did you laugh? He laughed at me. I feel I can not only sway Republican votes, but even maybe some legislators who know that if, this district votes me in, or when they do, they need to kind of be careful and listen, because I'm clearly in touch with the people because it's largely rural. I don't know if you've taken a look at the district, but it's very largely rural.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. All right. Now here's some of the more policy-related questions. You've touched on a couple of these things, but one of them is, so Democrats here in the state have been advocating for a 7% gross production tax, on oil and gas. Would you be willing to, do you think that it should be higher than 7%?
Absolutely.
Or and if so, do you have an idea of what you think it should be? If not 7%.
I mean, if it were up to me, I would start at 15.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We'll start at 15, see where we can go from there. I don't want to be, totally unreasonable, but we can go higher. They've been gouging us for years.
Because if you think of it this way, it's our oil. We're just letting them drill for it. So
absolutely.
Exactly.
They're drilling for our resources and messing up our infrastructure and our land and our water.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. Are you in support of raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour here in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
All right. And okay, you kind of touched on this earlier, but I'm going to ask it again. Do you believe that in Oklahoma we should fully legalize recreational marijuana. All right. All right. Last question. Who is your favorite music artist? And if you don't have one, you can name a couple.
Like right now? Because
Yes.
I have so many. Hold on. I'm like, okay, the first one that comes to mind, just because I'm literally thinking like right now, like I've been listening to a lot of LMA. Amazing. So talented. I love LMA. Oh, man, it's always so, I wasn't expecting this one. Who else do I love? I like Fleetwood Mac. I've been listening to them lately too. And did you ask why, or can I just say like who they are? Okay.
I mean, if you want to give why, you can.
I love Beyonce. Like Beyonce, like always transcends like all musicians, and I think that's all I have to say about that. I love Beyonce. She's everything. She's the queen. Let me look at my Pandora. 2 seconds.
All right. All right.
Seconds. I love Lizzo right now. Totally. This song is inappropriate. I hope it doesn't play. I also really like Boogie. Boogie's been one that I'm into. I wouldn't say he's like one of my favorites. Like,
Didn't he's the one, he's on Eminem's label, right?
is he?
I think so.
No idea. But yeah, I really do like Boogie. Almost all of my favorite songs by him start with S. I don't know why that is, but it is. So I like Sunroof. That was the very first song I heard by him. It just totally blew me away. And Silent Ride Home, amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
baby, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, so Boogie is one of my faves. Let's see. Love Flume. I like Erykah Badu a lot. Been into her a lot lately. My favorite though, like my favorite of all time. Do I have a favorite, Kaylin? Of all time? Johnny Cash. Is that yours or is that mine?
I feel like you want to beat him, not necessarily that's your favorite music.
Did you hear him? He goes, he want to be him. I'm not sure if that's your favorite musician. He's right. He's right. I idolize Johnny Cash, totally.
That's cool.
He is a man of the people. Yeah, he's got. I quoted him during one of my speeches on Labor Day. Oh.
Sorry, my dad came in. He's talking.
I said Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, Stevie Nicks. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
All right. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have here today. What's your website and where can people find you and support you, donate to you, all that good stuff?
Okay, so my website, my team let me make it again, so it's very long and complicated, so I don't know if you can like put like little words across here, but it's Scott, the number 4, okay, State Senate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, okay, statesenate.com. And I can send it to you in Messenger too. And so, and then follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. My Instagram is...
What's your Twitter? Because I have not found you on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter quite a bit.
What is my Twitter? I think it's the real Alex Scott. It is. It's real Alex Scott. Here, look. It me.
Ah, okay.
It me. Yeah, real Alex Scott. I don't have many followers, so follow me. We're about 100.
Real Alex Scott. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I'm just now seeing this account for the first time in my life.
That's me.
All right.
And then hey, yay! You followed me. I'll follow you back.
Yep. And what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is AlexScott_2020.
All right.
I think. Let me double check. I don't want to be wrong. Yeah, AlexScott_2020.
All right. All right.
And then
And
my
then you're also on Facebook, and you
I
have a
am.
Facebook page. All right.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
Facebook's easy to find me.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Well, this has been great interviewing you.
It has.
Good
Thank
luck.
you for your time.
No, thank you for your time. Have a good time finishing out your term on city council and the race for state senate.
Thank you. Stay tuned. I appreciate you, Gregory. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.